Hi again, and thank you so much for joining me for Mondays with Mike, Myth Busting Edition. Important myth busting, we're talking about tornado myths, and one of them that really came up quite dramatically last week with the big tornado that hit New Orleans. And so that's really the main thing that I wanted to talk about today on Mondays with Mike is sort of tornado safety, but also some myths about tornadoes that unfortunately seem to have gotten so ingrained in everybody's, not everybody, but so ingrained in sort of the psyche of the country or the world that it just comes out even in news reports. People will just kind of say something as if it's a fact, and it isn't. We're also going to talk about the infamous orange light in the sky from last week, which was pretty cool. And we'll hit on some other stuff, maybe even some guitar stuff. Kind of tell you what I'm working on. I'm trying to get back into it. I really am. And also the fact that storms appear to be on the way for Wednesday this week. So, I want to start out here with the tornado myths, because this is the kind of thing that's just been, man, kind of really frustrating. I mean, first of all, so we had severe weather here. Tuesday morning was rough. And I know, because I woke up on Monday night a week ago at 10:30 p.m., checked in with JD, who was working at night because we had potential for severe weather. We were worried about tornadoes here, right? And we did have, on Tuesday morning, several confirmed tornadoes. Now, fortunately, they were not huge and they were not extremely destructive, but we did have some injuries to a family in Beasley, which is down in Fort Bend County. There was an EF1 tornado that hit there. The estimated winds were between about 86 and 110 miles an hour. So that's nothing to write off, definitely nothing to sneeze at. The family, hopefully everybody's okay. I don't think that they were seriously injured, but it had to have been scary as heck, because you had the family, including a bunch of small kids, who were in a trailer in Beasley, and which is near East Bernard, and tornado came through and actually knocked the trailer over. And I mean, imagine your whole world just, it must have been very scary. So that was one in our area that had the most effect. We also did obviously have, well to the north of our area in Madisonville, some pretty tough tornadoes that moved through too, along a line. Some of them were EF1s and EF2s, which means that some of them had winds of above 110 miles per hour. There was also briefly a small tornado down in the community of Danbury, which is in Brazoria County, but we didn't have any Houston proper, in the city of Houston. Although, and this is one of those things that always gets me, is that a lot of times these sort of severe weather events, flooding events, they tend to, well, not tend to, but sometimes they hit in the morning, during the morning rush hour. And which means not only are people trying to get to work, but families are trying to get their kids to school. And it's just one of those sticking points with me. Like I get myself into trouble with school districts and stuff because they get offended and everything, because I say, well, no, and I don't say that anymore because I don't want to get in trouble, but I'll politely suggest that maybe when there is a severe thunderstorm warning and a flood advisory, maybe it would be okay to send out a tweet or a message saying, you can be late, we're not going to count tardies today, if you're an hour late. Because I think it's kind of like, just for public safety reasons, and I don't want to say too much about this. People get so mad at me for this. I don't know why, but for public safety reasons, there's no way in the world you could have kids out at a bus stop when you have the lightning flashing, exploding all over the place, winds up to 70 miles an hour. You're getting 3 inches of rain per hour. It's, at 7 a.m., like between 6:30 and 7:30 a.m., right when everybody's trying to get on the bus. It's not just that it's unsafe. It's almost like intentionally being, rolling the dice. So I would really just, as a parent and as somebody who is a proponent of public safety, especially when it comes to weather, I am just a proponent of everybody, you need to put your safety first. You shouldn't have to worry about your kid being marked tardy when there's severe weather. So that's just me, but people get mad at me, whatever. But okay, well, let's talk about this tornado myth that came up. So on Tuesday, so we had our severe weather Tuesday morning. On Tuesday night at about 7:30, a tornado, or there were actually two tornadoes, hit the New Orleans area. The first one moved through about 6:30. That was over around Kenner, Louisiana, which is just on the western side of Lake Pontchartrain. And then near downtown Houston, there was an EF3 tornado that hit on Tuesday night. EF3, by the way, stands for Enhanced Fujita. Ted Fujita was one of the pioneers in tornado research. This is going back to like the 50s. And so one of the things he did was he made a scale of estimating wind speeds based on damage, which is different from hurricanes, because in hurricanes you estimate damage based on wind speed, okay? Because we could measure a hurricane's wind speed, and then based on that we have the Saffir-Simpson hurricane scale, category 1, category 2, category 3. That tells you how much damage you can expect from the wind from a hurricane. With the tornado, it happens so fast, you can't really measure the winds directly. You can use radar, but we don't have wind gauges everywhere, so you have to there's a tornado warning issued, and of course we could use our radar tools to maybe say, well, this is going to be a really big one or a small one, but either way, you have to go back afterwards, look at the damage, and then you can assess, well, the winds were 100 or 150 or 200 based on the type of damage that was done. But the point I wanted to make was that I heard a lot of people say, including some of our not our local reporters, but sometimes you'll get live shots from like reporters from Fox or maybe reporters from New Orleans. I don't even remember who it was, and it doesn't matter. But I heard it repeated a couple of times that, well, this is so rare, because tornadoes don't hit cities. And I think it's wrong. It's completely untrue. Let me just say that right off the top. It is completely untrue that tornadoes don't hit cities. They do hit cities. The reason why it seems like they don't hit cities is that most of the country is not cities, right? If you look at a map of the United States, and I'll pull one up here, the vast majority of the country is rural. Most of the population, it lives in urban areas. If you look at, even just think about the state of Texas, okay? If you've ever driven from Houston to San Antonio, you know that the majority of the way, once you get out west of Katy, obviously, yes, you have Brookshire and you have Sealy and you have Columbus, and then you go out to like Luling and your place, but most of it is rural. There are small towns in there, but the vast majority of it is rural. You have Houston and you have Austin and San Antonio and Dallas, Fort Worth, and you do have your population centers. But if you just look at Texas as an example, which is one of the most populated states in the entire country, the vast majority of Texas is rural. And even your most populated states, if you think about, well, Texas is one. Florida is another one. Even if you think about Florida and all the people that have moved to Florida, most people in Florida live on a little part of the coastline, and most of the interior part of the state, with the exception of like Orlando and stuff, is swamp. And so if you really look at a map of the country, and I looked it up here, according to the U.S. Census, the United States government, 97% of the United States is rural land, which means that 3% of the country is urban. So if you're thinking about all of the tornadoes that occur, think about your whole life. Like, getting hit with a tornado is rare to begin with. Okay? Each year in the country, There's some, it depends on the year, but there could be anywhere between like 500 and 1,000 tornadoes in the entire United States in an entire calendar year. And the vast majority of those don't hit populated areas. And the ones that do hit populated areas don't hit urban areas like cities with downtowns and tall buildings and stuff. But if you look it up, and I'll hopefully be able to pull up some pictures here for you, tornadoes have hit cities. Miami, Nashville, St. Louis, Salt Lake City got hit with a tornado. And we have indeed had tornadoes in Houston. In the early 1990s, we had EF4 tornadoes that hit Channelview. I would consider Channelview, in the city. I mean, it's basically right there on the east side of the city of Houston. Definitely not rural. So that is a myth that needs to be totally busted. This whole idea that cities don't get hit by tornadoes. There's no reason that the lower Ninth Ward of New Orleans wouldn't get hit by a tornado compared to some, the swampy areas between New Orleans and Baton Rouge. Absolutely no meteorological, physical reason why. So let's consider that myth busted. All right. The next thing that I wanted to talk about was the orange light in the sky, which, by the way, I natively say orange, which a lot of people make fun of me for. I say orange, and I feel this sense of connection to Natasha Geigel, our morning reporter, Natasha. She's from New York, and if you listen, she'll say orange, like hard orange. And whenever she says it, I'm like, yes, at least there's one of us. And it's not because I'm from the Northeast, but my parents were. And my mom's from Pennsylvania. My dad was from Connecticut. So I don't know. We say orange. When I moved to Texas, I would say orange, and then everybody would make fun of me. You know who would make fun of me? It's Rashi Vats, our 5 p.m. news anchor. She would make fun of me for saying orange. She was like, well, orange? What is orange? Orange. So now I've had to teach myself to say orange, which is totally unnatural for me. So why did I get on the subject? Oh yeah, the orange light in the sky. So last week, there was this phenomenon that took place where everybody was just astounded. And I didn't see it. I saw pictures of it. At this orange, not just light, but like a pillar. And we could look at some pictures here, but, everybody wondering, it's so oddly shaped. The fact that it was this vertical pillar and such an odd color to be in the sky, orange like that, or orange. What in the world is this? So, whenever stuff like that happens, obviously it's like half kidding, tongue-in-cheek that it's like aliens or, like Caitlin Monty said on the, tweeted out like a portal or something to like another dimension or something. And those are some good ideas. But I mean, there is a logical explanation to it. And, well, there's a logical explanation to almost everything. And I'm not 100% convinced that this is what happened, but I'm like 99% convinced that some light source, probably a flare from a petrochem complex, possibly a flare from the Baytown Exxon complex, and I say that one because the campus, which by the way my brother-in-law works there, I should have asked him about it, but they have a very, very, very large flaring area. It's out of my realm of really extreme knowledge, but these the petrochemical plants periodically have to do away with excess gases and pressure that builds up in all of their pipes. And for many reasons, they can't just release it into the air. It would be a hazard. It would be a hazard for multiple reasons. And so it's redirected to these stacks, which most of the time you'll just see this tall stack, and it's always burning on top. Like if you drive 225 on the east side, you'll notice or if you drive like past Lake Charles too, I know when we drive to Louisiana, it's always burning on top. That's called a pilot light. So the pilot light is there just like the pilot light in your furnace in your house, so that when you go to turn it on, it ignites. If the light weren't there, if the fire weren't there, then they would have to go like relight it every time. So it's there to act as a pilot light. And anyway, when they have to really flare, when they have a lot of gas that they need to burn, obviously the fire will get much, much bigger and much brighter. So we have a lot of those on the east side. The one in Baytown, though, is noteworthy because it's particularly large. And when Exxon first expanded it, which I think was a couple of years ago, we got calls. We would get calls. A lot of people would post online, "Oh my gosh, I think the plant is on fire." But it really wasn't. It's just that it was a large flare. So, and everything's safe and under control. But see, here's the point, though. So you have this bright, super bright light coming from the fire. It's at night. It actually started to show up before sunset, though, but near sunset. And you have to think of like, well, what would cause this orange light to just like appear in the sky? And it's very similar to a lot of the other effects that we see from clouds. Like a lot of people have seen things like a sundog, which is when you have cirrus clouds in place and the sun is there, and then on either side of the sun you have these bright lights. Most people have probably never seen it, but if you really look, it's there sometimes. So sundog, you can maybe Google that, or if I have a chance to edit this, I'll put a picture up. You've probably also seen a rainbow. Okay, I'm sure you've seen a rainbow. So a rainbow is just water drops that are both reflecting and refracting light. The light comes from the sun, it goes into the raindrop, it bounces off the back of the raindrop like a reflection, and then when it comes out, it gets split into the colors of the rainbow. So we've all seen that. So we know that there can be effects visually from light sources in the sky, sometimes even light sources on the ground. I mean, think about this. On a cloudy night, if it's really cloudy out, and we have some low clouds, you can see the lights of the city. The sky sometimes will look purple because all of the lights of the city are just bouncing off the clouds, and the clouds are almost lit up by the lights of the city. So we know that bright things can reach cloud level. We know that. And so in this particular case, it looks like there was a large flare, which is why it was orange. And in this case, we had just the right type of ice crystal in the cloud. Ice crystal, what do I mean by that? Well, when there's ice that forms in the clouds, it forms in different shapes and sizes. And like we've all heard about snowflakes, how every snowflake is unique and that kind of thing. But there are kind of types of snowflakes, and some are smaller, some are bigger. In clouds, you can have different formations of ice, and if the clouds are just right, where the light like bounces off of the ice crystals, then you get what we had, last week, which was like you had this flare here, and you had ice there, and it just went boop like that. So that was most likely the cause of that, and technically it's called a light pillar. So if you want to Google light pillar, you'll be able to see other examples. And you'll say, "Oh yeah, that really looks like that." Okay, so we're almost almost done here. I'm almost done boring you here for this Mondays with Mike. The last thing I wanted to say was trying to get back into the guitar. I get in and out of it. I don't know if any of you out there like have a hobby or something that you really like doing, but that you sort of get out of for one reason or another. And I don't know. Sometimes it's like a little bit of like it's more than just, it's not boredom. It's more of like a low grade kind of, well, I mean, depression can factor into it. Okay. But it's just sort of like you get so busy and then you play it, So that's what's going on. So we got the tornado myth busted. We get the orange light, hopefully explained. We got the pronunciation of orange discussed. We've got the gauntlet has been set down that I'm going to really try to get back into playing my guitar. You're also finally, you're going to, schedule-wise at work since Dr. Jim left. It's just the three of us at work right now, just me and JD and Lena Maria, and it's kind of hard short-term right now. We're all working extra shifts, long shifts, and, these things happen. But the problem's going to get solved. It's probably going to take another, I don't know, month, maybe a month to kind of get everything settled. But I think whatever happens, we got a couple of people that we're looking at, and I talked to one of them, and she's great. And so, yeah, there's exciting things happening. I'm hoping that we don't get any sort of major severe weather event. But behind me, see this thing right here? That's a dip in the jet stream. These are winds that are at about 18,000 feet above the ground. It's called 500 millibar winds, or if you want to really get fancy and impress your friends, hectopascals. That's a measure of pressure, the Pascal or Pascal. So this is the 500 hectopascal map, and you're going to see this thing coming right in there into the west coast of the U.S. That is what is coming our way Wednesday. And we're going to monitor it for any signs of severe weather. And this is the time of the year we probably will see some. So stay tuned for that. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me here on Mondays with Mike. Please comment below. If you're watching us on YouTube or if you're watching us on Facebook Live, leave a comment. Keep it nice, please. If you have any questions that you want to ask me, I will feature you if you want your name included or not. Yeah, give me some good questions. Give me some good, not too many comments, maybe some polite comments. I don't know. But anyway, I hope you have a great week. It's going to get interesting on Wednesday. Hopefully it'll be nice beyond that. And we will talk again next week.